Welcome and thanks for joining us for this webinar on the Master's Program in Community Development at the Carsey School of Public Policy at the University of New Hampshire. My name is Michael Swack. I'm the director of the program. I also teach in the program, and we'll be doing about a 15-minute overview of the program format and structure, and then we're going to interview one of the current students, Janie Bright, and we'll introduce her when she comes online with us in about 15 minutes. We have encouraged your questions today, and so feel free to type questions in the chat or the Q&A. I'm joined by my colleague, Robin Husledge, and she'll be looking at the questions and raising them, so please feel free to ask as you go along. I'll also stop at a couple different intervals and ask if people have questions, and we'll also have time at the end for questions, both for me and for Janie. So let me start by just taking a look at the Carsey School at the University of New Hampshire. And Carsey has several academic programs, master's degree programs in community development, public administration, and public policy. And today we'll be focusing specifically on the master's degree program in community development. The master's degree program in community development is an online program. Courses are offered over a period of 4 terms. We'll talk about each of those. The cohort model means that you go through the program and the required courses in particular with a group of students who start and end pretty much at the same time. I say pretty much because there are some variations that allow you to go faster or slower depending on what your other demands are and how many courses you want to take at any particular time. And the courses we offer are a combination of synchronous and asynchronous, primarily asynchronous, but we do each of the courses meets typically for 60 to 90 minutes per week, face-to-face via Zoom. So the program is primarily asynchronous, but you do work offline with members of your cohort. A lot of small group work. It's a graduate program, and that's one of the best ways to learn. Particularly since our program, we have an incredibly talented and diverse group of students, people who come from all over the United States and beyond. Great range of students, great range in age, range in terms of what people do, diverse student body. Really one of the strongest parts of the program is the cohort itself, the people who you go through the program with. At the core of the program is this capstone project you see on your screen there. And the capstone project is a project that you do in your home community, often through your workplace. I'll get into that more in just a minute. And then there's a series of courses, integrative, interdisciplinary courses. It's a practitioner-based program, so a heavy emphasis on skills you use in the workplace, courses in management, in finance, financial management, as well as courses in policy and community economic development. So we emphasize practical skills that you use in the workplace, but also include courses on policy and theory in the beginning that really help put all of these courses in context. So the curriculum is this 5 core courses. You see them listed there. The Integrative Approaches is a course that I co-teach and that looks at the context of community development, different theories of community development, what works, what doesn't work, how different elements of community development are integrated into the work, whether it's policy work or project work. And then a series of courses, as I mentioned, in organizational management, fiscal management, economic analysis, and policy analysis. The experiential learning is this 4-course project sequence, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a minute. And then there's a series of electives, some of which are listed here. And so you see a total of 12 courses, 5 core courses, 4 project-related experiential courses, and 3 electives. The capstone project is this 4-course sequence that you take. The introduction to projects. This is in the first summer of the program. where you will choose a project. You don't have to have a project determined before you come. We'll talk about what some of the projects are. People do a lot of projects through their workplace, often developing a new program. It can be an outreach program. It can be an evaluation program. It could be developing a new program. It could be anything from housing to community development finance to public health. A lot of flexibility to choose your program. Like I said, you don't have to have a project chosen beforehand. Most people make a determination of what their project will be as they go through the introductory project course in the first term of the program. And going through each of the courses, after the introductory course is a course on project design. This is where you begin to do the work, collect data, do interviews, do analysis, develop a project monitoring and evaluation plan that you'll be carrying out throughout. So as you get started with your project, again, you'll be part of the cohort. It's accompanied by a class. You go through a series of assignments and exercises that are part of the project course that you'll be working on over the whole term. One of the formats we use, and many of you will be familiar with this, is the logic model, is used as a basic structure as you go through the program. So you identify inputs, activities, outputs, and outcomes. Again, starting with what outcomes are you trying to use, and often working backwards. So again, this is the format we use to teach in the four course project course. Let me stop and Robin, see if there are any questions yet people have. I think you may be.
I had to unmute myself.
Right, exactly.
Okay, there was one here. Let me see. Can you explain a little bit more, I guess, about the capstone? We are in the middle of that. So I think maybe continuing on with that would be great.
Right, okay. Again, so the fourth course is this project. There's the project implementation and monitoring, and the final is the project evaluation. And that's, again, where you learn evaluation tools and also do a preliminary evaluation of the work you've done on the project to date. Now, we all know that we don't expect projects to fit neatly within the context of a program where you have a neat beginning and ending. So again, the idea here is to have an actual project, but we realize that the speed with which the project begins and ends doesn't necessarily coincide exactly with the term of a program. So again, the course goes through all these, and at different times it'll intersect with your project. At other times there'll be information that you'll be using later. But again, the idea is to understand the components of the project and be applying some of those components while you're in the program. Again, projects can be very wide-ranging. Often people choose to do it in their workplace. Sometimes people choose to do it outside of their workplace because they're looking to develop skills and work in a new area. Some people have lots of community development experience and have something very specific in mind. Some people are new to the field and experimenting with something that would give them experience in the field through their project and help them in terms of future employment. So again, a wide range of experiences in the project, but it is an important core. And at the end, you give a presentation to your fellow students, also to alumni and faculty, in which you talk about what you did in your project, what you learned, and where you're going from there.
Michael, we did have one more question, if I could interrupt.
Sure, yeah.
The question is, how large are their cohorts?
The cohorts are generally around 20 people. So they're relatively small. You get to know the people. And I should mention that we haven't made a decision for the coming year because of COVID. The plan is to offer the course, for those who are thinking about it, the course of study entirely online. In the past, we've had short-term residency where people come to campus for 2 weeks, get to meet your fellow students, begin to take courses during those 2 weeks. And we may integrate that this coming year, depends on COVID, or the following year when you might still be in the program. But we also plan to make that optional so that you can start the program online and finish it online. But if there is a choice, you can also come to the University of New Hampshire, spend 2 weeks in June in Durham, where it's beautiful in June, and have more of a face-to-face experience with some of your fellow students and the faculty. Again, the decision on whether we'll offer that online component, we probably won't be making until sometime around February or March next year. To summarize the overall requirements of the program, it is a 36 credit program. There are 9 core courses and experiential, meaning the project courses, 3 electives that you choose on, and this capstone project, which aligns with the 4 project courses. Again, many people do the project working with their employer. Employers often find that this is an additional bonus, that the project work corresponds with work you're doing at the workplace. And you have the advantage of having faculty and advisors to consult with as you do the project. Also, we provide post-graduation career support and networking support, great alumni group and faculty. If you're looking for work, we're helpful in that regard as well. The structure of the program, again, 2 summer terms where you take courses online in 2 5-week sequences over the end of May through middle of August. And then there's a fall and spring term online from September through December, and then from January through April. And many people complete the program then in 14 months, start in June and finish the following August. So there are 2 summer terms sandwiching both a fall and spring term. However, many people will take 18 to 24 months to finish the program. And again, this depends on how many courses you want to take at any time. The cost is essentially the same because you pay by course. So whether it's taken within 14 months or 24 months, the cost remains the same. A little bit about the application requirements. You apply online. The summer term application deadline is April 15th, although we encourage people to get their applications in earlier by March 15th. Helps with financial aid, which I'll be talking about in just a moment. The other application requirements are the bachelor's degree, transcripts from your undergraduate degree, 3 letters of reference, which can be letters of reference from a workplace or academic if you choose, a personal statement about your goals in the program, your resume, and an application fee. We do not require the GRE. The TOEFL is required for international applicants if they have not studied previously in English. The cost of the program you can see on your screen there. This is for the entire program, regardless of how many months you spread it out over. Again, it's charged per course. We do provide financial assistance. In fact, most students receive some form of financial assistance from us, meaning grant money. And also, of course, there's access to student loan programs in addition to grant money. In addition, we have partnership agreements with the organizations you see on your screen there, including the Peace Corps, NeighborWorks, LISC, OFN, in which we have specific scholarship money that is targeted for people who work with or are on the boards of organizations that are affiliated with our partner organizations. And that's in addition to other financial aid we would offer. And we can give you specific information about any of those organizations if you're interested, because there are some differences in terms of the assistance they provide. Again, we have people from all over the world. This is one of our students with 2 people who were engaged in the project that he worked in Central America. The capstones are really interesting work. There's documentation of them that you can go and see on our website as well if you're interested, or we can give you more information about those. Some of the people who are graduates, recent graduates of the program, Andronika, she also did an interview for one of our podcasts, which is available on our website as well, and a couple others. Students who are graduates of the program work for nonprofits, government agencies, banks, international NGOs. They work on lending, project management, again, a wide range of experiences and jobs and careers that people are involved in. So let me stop for any questions before we introduce Janie. Anything else, Robin, that's come up?
Yes, there is a question about during the online courses, are there live online sessions or is it all just self-paced learning?
No, so there are online sessions that are live. That is when the whole group gets together on Zoom, the whole cohort. And like I said, typically online during the summer, we meet for 60 to 90 minutes once a week at a time arranged with the instructors and students. During the spring and fall terms, when the terms are a little bit longer, also frequently once a week, in some instances every 2 weeks. So much of the work is done in small groups offline, and people organize when they'll meet themselves. The groups organize that. We will organize the groups and provide different communications options, although many groups just pick their own and meet in a way that's convenient for them. But there is that face-to-face, everybody online at the same time, typically every 1 or 2 weeks for 60 minutes for each course.
Great, thanks, Michael. Another question came in. How many students are generally entering the program right out of their undergraduate degree versus experienced professionals? Great question.
Yeah, there are very few out of their undergraduate degree. We generally don't encourage that because the program does ask you to draw on some of your experience and insights in the workplace, even if it's not specifically in community development per se. So, you know, maybe, you know, one each year. Very few is the answer to that question.
Great, thanks. I think that's all the questions I see at this point.
Okay, well, Janie, why don't you turn on your camera? Welcome. Janie Bright is one of our current students. She's just completing her second term in the program, and Janie works at the local government federal credit union in Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome and thank you, Janie, for joining us. Appreciate it. Maybe we can start by just asking you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work and what you do and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Again, I'm Janie Bright, and I do work with local government federal credit union as their one of their vice presidents. I work in the financial inclusion and community strategies division under the finance sector in our credit union. One of my responsibilities is to work with our members and get them access to services, resources that they otherwise are not tapped into. And I really enjoy doing that. So.
Great. So Janie, how did you first hear about the program? And why did you decide to come to this particular program?
So that's a good question, Michael. In 2017, my immediate supervisor and I were just chatting about the potential for expanding our CDFI target market area. And over the course of that conversation, he mentioned that I should look into the Community Development Policy and Practice program that's offered at UNH. And it was apparent to me that he knew a lot about the community development space and UNH. And so he just felt like, coupled with my enthusiasm for making a difference in the lives of members, that it would be a good fit. Now, at first, I did hesitate because it had been 15 years since I was enrolled in an academic setting. And that was very intimidating to me. And so being out of school for that long, it also has its challenges because I had to learn new technologies but you know, given the speciality of the program at UNH, I felt like it was a good fit. And I was just really curious as to how this program could help me better assist our members. And the reason why that's really important too, Michael, is because at any given moment, being one of the biggest cheerleaders for our members, I could get a call from a member asking about, some service or program. They're in some dire straits and needs help. And I have to be ready. And I challenge myself to go out there and tap into those resources that can better assist our organization to enhance the lives of members in North Carolina.
Yeah. So Janie, one of the questions we frequently get is about the project. Can you talk a little bit about what your project is, how you selected it, and how that's working out so far, how that coordinates with the classes that you're taking on project?
Sure. The project actually ties to the work that I do at LGFCU. Just to give you a little bit of background, when I was hired at LGFCU, I was their very first financial counselor. And in this capacity, I provided remedial counseling to members to help them improve their credit scores and work on, any other goals that they might have. But I saw this as an empathy thread. And so, because I see it as, walking in the shoes of other people. And it does help us open our own eyes to blind spots that we don't even realize we have sometimes. But my role in the company is to identify and implement solutions for the credit union and for members at the macro and the micro level. And so in doing this, it helps to support that human capital and risk mitigation efforts. But just to address your specific question, the project that I'm working on right now, I wanted to do something for the entire state of North Carolina, but going through the community development process in this program, I realized I needed to narrow my scope a little bit. So I'm actually working in the West Chatham County area. And what that is doing is to help, pull together a network of community providers to help folks that have homes that need repair and rehabilitation. And one of the challenges is they don't have the funding to get this done. And there's 900 people on a waiting list, but we can really only help about 30 people. So I wanted to figure out how to get in there and provide more funding so we can do more and help more. Because these are people that are in high risk, high poverty areas, and they really need the help. And so
how's it working out so far? Does it fit well with the project courses? Are you
absolutely
integrate?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've taken 4 of the courses so far, and it's working out great. Because what I thought was the right way of doing things, I'm learning at UNH that there's a much better way of doing it, and it's a great program because it helped me really think outside of my common way of thinking, the way we've been doing business, at the credit union. And so, yeah, these courses are just helping me just, get right in line with figuring out these better channels of doing things. So I'm especially excited, about the courses I've taken so far. And it all works. It's a process, and it's just coming together very nicely. So, if I hadn't, I just can't imagine what life would be like without being in the program. And that's really how I feel about it.
So Janie, talk a little bit about the cohort. I always say that it's really one of the strongest parts of the program. Can you talk a little bit about what your cohort's like and who else is in it and how you interact together?
Yes, absolutely. You may recall in the chat session, I was talking to one of my cohorts, Wyakia Lawson. I met her in June. But honestly, it feels like I've met her, I've known her all my life. The one thing about the cohort is it's a very close-knit program. There's some professionals, like Michael mentioned earlier, all across the world, and just meeting people and learning from them. It's so inspirational, and it really has enlightened me, and it's encouraged me to think about community development in a different way, because I used to think community development was just coming together with credit union products and services. And now I'm realizing you got to look at the need. You got to look at what's going on in the lives of folks and try to figure out what are the resources out there, tap into those and make it happen. But I just want to send a special shout out to YK again. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I was just kidding about not asking me questions. You can ask anything you like.
So Janie, you joined the program in the middle of COVID. That's not necessarily what you were expecting when you applied to the program. But you also mentioned earlier that you'd been out of school for 15 years, and nervous about that. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about, what were the challenges of the program, coming back after 15 years, or other challenges, whether it's, working online or whatever? And what strategies have you and members of your cohort used to deal with those challenges? Because a lot of people in your position, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't been in, formal education in a long time. How am I going to do this? So can you talk a little bit what the challenges have been?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, COVID challenges has been, I think, a lot for a lot of different people, that you're confined to your homes and your devices. I actually work remote. Thankfully, my employer has allowed us to do that. But we've adopted a new normal. I mean, my husband, my son, and we share internet space, and that can be challenging. But there's good sides to COVID too. I just want to speak to that for a little bit. I mean, I get to spend more time with them. I get to meetings early, saving on gas, connecting with new friends, spending more time with the cohort and learning together. But I feel like the COVID issue has caused a lot of concerns for a lot of different ways, because it's really challenging balancing school requirements and family obligations and work. But honestly, though, the strategies, I would just simply say connecting with the professors. I mean, the UNH professors are so great about helping you. They understand. You just talk to them, keep them informed about what's going on. And even though we can't meet face to face, we still have built very strong connections in the community development policy and practice program. I really have enjoyed that. Speaking of the strategy, just want to mention this, Michael. Michael Parker, one of the cohorts, and we had a chance to talk about how to build, better relationships. So we created this platform called Student Banter, and the purpose of that communication was to provide an avenue so that we could get to know each other a lot better, since we couldn't meet in person. But honestly, this turned out to be great, and it's definitely a program I would encourage anybody to participate in if you're looking to learn how to better assist your consumers and members and customers, because they provide a lot of guidance and support and resources to help you get your degree.
Yeah. So Janie, for a lot of people in this program and now everywhere, this is the first time people have taken courses fully online, and people often wonder about that as well. What's it like to take a course online, and are there any particular thoughts or suggestions? Because some people are nervous, saying, well, I don't know, I'd rather go to a program face to face. On the other hand, I know that it's more convenient online, and it's less travel and less expensive in terms of travel and staying on campus and the rest. But what's it like taking online courses for the first time?
Well, actually, I thought what you said earlier was true, that I really wanted to be in a classroom setting, that I needed to, take the course in person. But actually, I found the online process to be a lot more rewarding, because I'm in my own space. If I'm reading an assignment and I have a question, I can reach out to one of the professors and just say, look, what's going on? I can talk to Robin Huslich, who's also on the call. And it's just a family. So, it's actually better for me. I mean, now the course is very challenging. It's a graduate program, so it's challenging. But I find it a lot better to be at home in my own personal space, taking the courses, and then, connecting with colleagues and cohort members as necessary.
Okay. Yeah, we have a couple questions here. Let's see, what are the challenges that students straight from undergraduate degrees face in the program? Again, what I would say is that the major challenge is that they have less of an experience base. It's actually, for people who do come from straight from an undergraduate program, it's an incredible experience, because you meet people who you otherwise wouldn't meet for a long time. You make good connections and contact. Typically we encourage people to have some experience, but we have had, like I said, one, sometimes two people a year who come straight from undergraduate. I don't know if anyone in your cohort has, Janie, maybe, I don't know, but the really the only drawback, which is not a drawback to the student, is that when you're asked to reflect on your experience in some instances, you know, you have less to draw on. So I would say that's really the main challenge. There's a question about what's the name of the platform. Well, a couple things. Number one, that we use Canvas as a teaching platform. So that's where all the courses are posted. We also have Zoom embedded in the Canvas platform so that people can have discussions. But also, you know, people communicate with each other in the groups that they're either assigned or formed per class. So it can be, some people have a Group Me account and just, you know, are constantly chatting with each other. Also in Canvas, we can form groups in Canvas so that you can actually communicate asynchronously via your Canvas, and each group has its own place on the course page where they can share information, references, talk to each other, post drafts of assignments when they're group assignments. So Canvas encompasses some of that in terms of internal communication with your small groups, also Zoom embedded where you can originate calls, as well as all the materials in the class and ability to access instructors. I don't know, did I leave anything out, Janie, in terms of the platform and how it works and how people stay connected?
No, I think you covered it very well.
Okay.
I see another question about to Janie about what are your biggest takeaways from this program so far that's influencing how you tackle community challenges in your specific area?
Wow, that's a really good question, and one I need to think about so I don't take too long explaining. I have a lot of takeaways. In one of the courses, the integration to community development, I believe that was the name of the course. I didn't realize when I was taking the course how much information I was taking away from it until I started taking other courses. So what I walk away with is a better understanding of what community development is, how it's going to help me help people better. Because you can do a lot yourself, but you can do way more with others. And so all these partnerships, the opportunity to connect with other partners in the right way to ask a question, the right way to look at surveys, what type of resources to look into in terms of research, like secondary data and primary data. All these things are just great. It's just great information that I just otherwise didn't think about. And so I'm going to be walking away with a lot of information to help our members, and I'm going to go back and cheerlead those efforts at the credit union.
Great. Yeah, and Janie makes a good point. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and when I look at how the field has changed over the years in terms of practitioners, there's much more emphasis now than there was, say, 20 years ago on ability to understand and manipulate data, because it's just so present in everything we do. How do you use data to support the development of new programs? How do you use data to perform evaluations to better understand impact and whether you're achieving outcomes? And so a very strong data component, and one we're continuing to consistently build in terms of how do community development practitioners need to use data. Robin, let me see if there are any other questions that people have posed, because we're just—
No, I don't see any more posted at this point in time.
Well, I'd like to share one other thing, if it's okay.
Of course.
Just really quickly. You know, one other thing I think is very important to mention as a takeaway is, and this is lifelong friends. I mean, for someone that I just met in June, I mean, I have a colleague now that I can talk to about challenges that I hadn't otherwise considered. Robert has been great to talk to. Michael is excellent. Everybody loves Michael. So, I mean, it's just a wealth of resources out here in this university. And absolutely, I would take away that friendship, which means more to me than I can express.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks, Janie.
See in the chat, Nick has posted the web page for the program where you can learn more. If you have additional questions after this, please feel free to contact either me or Robin. Our emails are on the web page, and I think I can probably share them if I share my screen again now. You can also see contact information for us here. So thank you for joining us today. We look forward to any follow-up we might be able to offer. Feel free to ask questions, and we hope to see you next summer. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye now, and
Thank you.
particular thank you to you, Janie.
Thank you, Michael.
Great to
for
see
having
you.
me.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.